Good morning, everyone. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit, turning in our gray hymnal to hymn number 108 as we join in singing together, My Life Flows On in Endless Song, hymn number 108 in the gray hymnal. My life flows on in endless song above earth's lamentation. I hear the real, though far off, hymn that hails on new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? What though the tempest round me roars? I know the truth it liveth. What though the darkness round me grows? Songs in the night it giveth. No storm can shake my inmost calm, while to that rock I'm clinging, since love prevails in heaven and earth. How can I keep from singing? When tyrants tremble as they hear the bells, freedom ringing, when friends rejoice both far and near, how can I keep from singing? To prison cell and dungeon vile, our thoughts to them are winging, when friends by shame are undefiled. How can I keep from singing? Thank you. Please be seated.
Good morning, and welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Ann Arbor, a liberal religious community that has been meeting in Ann Arbor for 160 years. I am Barbara Lynn, a lay worship leader, and it brings me joy to greet you and invite you into our circle where all are welcome. Whether you are here in person, participating in the live stream, or watching later on demand, your presence is a gift we celebrate. If you are new to us, we are honored to have you with us this morning and warmly invite you to a newcomer welcome right after the service. This gathering takes place in the Redmond Room, which is through these double doors and to your left as you enter the hallway. Someone will greet you at the door and usher you in for a discussion of our faith and our congregation. And to our newcomers in the live stream, I send warm greetings across the distance. Please, don't be shy. Introduce yourself in the chat so others may greet you. And so we can better connect with you, consider filling out our newcomer survey at UUAA.org/newcomer survey. As our church year is getting underway, I have a number of announcements. First, a call for volunteers for our Sunday welcoming teams. Have you come to count on coffee and donuts after the service? We need your help to keep the tables filled with snacks and the caffeine on tap. You can volunteer for kitchen duty or choose to greet, usher, or facilitate a newcomer welcome session. If you are willing to commit to one of these vital tasks for one Sunday a month, please contact our membership coordinator, James Jandro, at James at UUAA.org. Today, an orientation for our spiritual growth and development program will take place in the Jackson Chapel from 1 to 2 p.m. Light refreshments will be served, and all are welcome to this informational event. If you are curious about our SGD programs, this orientation is for you. Friday Fun Nights return from their summer break this coming Friday, September 19, from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. These monthly all-ages gatherings bring us together for a simple dinner, fun activities, and fellowship. Come this Friday for grilled cheese, soup, and delicious brownies, followed by crafts and Mad Libs. We will also be collecting gently used children's books, pre-K through grade 8, to set up a library for a community in Uganda. Since a local Girl Scout troop is the sponsor of this project, the books you bring this Friday will qualify you for a chance to win some Girl Scout cookies. You'll find RSVP and volunteer sign-up links for Friday Fun Night in the newsletter, or look for the flyers in the social hall. And remember, everyone is invited. Here in this congregation, we practice radical welcome. Every week, we fling our doors open to all who come to us. Next Sunday is our annual Visitor Sunday, when we take special care to introduce our faith to visitors throughout the entire service. If you have friends or neighbors who are UU curious, we encourage you to invite them to join us for worship and stay for the social justice fair following each service. At the fair, we will introduce our visitors and each other to our good works. In furtherance of that theme, please wear t-shirts or buttons that reflect the UU values you wish to put on display. If you arrived this morning with any doubts about the vibrancy of this congregation, I hope I have put them to rest. We are a busy, committed, caring community, living our values and bringing them alive in the world. And now, as we move more deeply into our time together, Reverend Manish will lead us in a moment of centering.
Good morning. What a week it has been, one in which the news of our nation has been dominated by a political assassination. And today, just 3 months earlier, we had a similar political assassination in nearby Minnesota of Melissa and Mark Hortman. You can feel like these acts of violence are not just continuing, but escalating. Certainly, there has been no shortage of political and public commentary over the past week related to and reflecting on the state of our country and the state of our nation. No doubt you have also found yourself tipping your toes, your thoughts into these kinds of wonderings, which is why I want to take just a moment to remember together how important our commitment, our Unitarian Universalist commitment to human dignity is. Here and in many other Unitarian Universalist communities around the world, we practice together week after week, being together, not just because of, maybe even in spite of, or celebrating the differences among us. We recognize that we are not together because we all think alike and believe precisely the same things, but rather we navigate together what living in difference means. And we recognize that in order for my distinct life experience, my distinct, unique perspectives to be honored and respected, I must also honor and respect yours. A basic human axiom, a basic axiom of social life together in society that seems to be becoming scarcer and scarcer around the world. And so I want to take a moment to invite you to reflect on those highest human aspirations that we come together to honor and to hold as precious and dear. What are those highest human aspirations for you? I want to invite you to take just a moment, join me in a moment of silent reflection as you ground yourself, nestle yourself in what your own sense of those highest human longings, yearnings, and aspirations are. Would you join me in a moment of that? Even as we navigate, living in a society and in a time that is riven by violence of all kinds, may we hold dear in our hearts that longing for what we know is better, truer, and deeper. May we remain grounded in that. We are gathered for worship.
Some of you will know this already, but I started my musical life not as a chorister, but as a band kid. I didn't start singing until I entered college, but I was immediately hooked. What did it for me more than anything else was that we got to deal in not only music, but also poetry. From this morning's opening hymn, "What though the tempest round me roars, I know the truth, it liveth. What though the darkness round me close, songs in the night it giveth. Since love prevails in heaven and earth, how can I keep from singing?" It's one of my favorites. It's when we feel the darkness closing round that we most desperately need the light of truth, the warmth of love. And so each week, whatever might be happening in our country and in our world, we take time to light a chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism. In both symbols and in words, in ritual and in reality, we kindle a flame for the world and for ourselves. So today, I would like to invite Spencer Thomas to join us on the chancel to light the chalice. As Spencer lights the chalice here in the sanctuary, we invite our online community to light a chalice of your own, perhaps sharing in the chat the chalice is lit and from where you're joining us today. Friends, will you please join me as we speak together our chalice lighting words? We light this chalice for the light of truth. We light this chalice for the warmth of love. We light this chalice for the energy of action. We light this chalice for the harmony of peace. Thank you, Spencer. Now, some of you may have noticed, a moment ago I skipped a line in that second verse from the hymn. No storm can shake my inmost calm, while to that rock I'm clinging. To what are we as a congregation clinging? What is our anchor in the tempests of our time? For UUs, it is our commitment to our values and to each other. In community, we find strength. In our values, we find meaning. And together, we find purpose. Let us re-articulate that commitment and purpose by speaking together the words of our covenant. The spirit of this church is love, and service is its law. This is our covenant with each other, to dwell together in peace, to search for truth in love, and to help one another.
I'd first like to thank a colleague of mine, Martha Dallas, from whose original piece, Weaving Our Path, I have adapted today's Time for All Ages. Imagine with me that you're going along a trail in the woods and you come across a steep gorge with a rushing river at the bottom. It is a long drop to the bottom, and there's only one way to get across. You see a bridge, and it is made of this. What is this? Does anyone know what this is? Ooh, it's shedding. It's pampas grass specifically, but yes, it's a long grass that often you can find in South America. So this is what this bridge is made of. So if you were faced with crossing this bridge, what would you want to know before you take that first step? What questions might you have? Yeah. So you'd want to know, if I step on this, is it going to break and I'm going to fall? That's very important, yes. What other questions might you have? Yeah. Have other people survived and hopefully thrived crossing this bridge? Other questions? Why was that material chosen? That's a good question. How much grass is the bridge made of? What's on the other side? How much weight can it bear? How many people can walk across at one time? Yeah. What's under it? Ooh, I think a big rushing river. That sounds pretty scary. Yeah. What's above it? Ooh, that's interesting. Is it an all-weather bridge, for example? Could you cross it if it's raining? Yeah. Do I really need to cross this bridge? That's excellent. Any others? Yeah. Do you dare to cross it? Anything else that you might want to know? Who built it? That was not a plant, I promise. Yes, who built this bridge? And furthermore, I would want to know, did they cross it themselves? Right? Now, I have a paralyzing fear of heights, so you would probably have to drag me kicking and screaming against my will, no matter how much reassurance I've been offered. But putting that aside, I'd want to know who made the bridge, how they made it, and whether the people who made the bridge have crossed it themselves. It's a little like when you're on an airplane and there's some turbulence. What do you do if you feel turbulence to calm yourself? Who do you look to? The flight attendants. If the flight attendants are chill, then I usually can relax because they would know better than I how safe we are, right? So back to the grass bridge. Now, we may not have them here in Michigan, but they were plentiful in South America. According to National Geographic, quote, many rope suspension bridges were built during the Inca Empire, linking the massive territory by way of what is now known as the Great Inca Road. The road spanned nearly 25,000 miles and connected previously isolated communities, allowing soldiers, messengers, and ordinary citizens to traverse the empire, end quote. Now, I found some really amazing pictures of one such bridge from a 2018 National Geographic article that I just quoted, and those will be playing as we go here. So, one thing that's really important to note is that these grass bridges have to be rebuilt. How often do you think? Every year, annually. So you can see in this next photo, that there's going to be anchor points that they take out, basically so that the old bridge falls into the water, so they can start over. I'm glad no one was on that bridge when it fell. Over 3 days of work, prayer, and celebration, a new bridge will be woven in its place. This particular bridge that you're seeing has been built and rebuilt continuously for 5 centuries. On the appointed day, everyone in the village would gather to begin work. Each person had a special role to play in building the bridge. First, there were the people who actually gathered the grass up, which you'll see in a moment. And then other people would take that grass and twist it into these long ropes. And then those people would take the ropes and weave them into these thick braids. And then those braids would be twisted into yet another long cable, which was thicker, much thicker than our arms, really. And next, a select group of especially brave and skilled people strung the cables across the gorge and pulled them nice and tight. I would not be volunteering for this particular job. And then finally, there were the riggers who would actually lash the cables together in such a way as to create a footbed to walk on and rails on each side. Each person did their part as best they could. And they relied on everyone else to do their part well, because every one of them needed that bridge to safely carry them across the river, wherever and whenever they needed to go that way. This was a major component of that culture, quote, the idea of common labor. Communities joined together to work on common projects without the expectation of pay, knowing that the entire village or region will benefit in the end, end quote. So why am I telling you about these bridges, these grass bridges? What in the world does this have to do with our gathering here in community? What do you think? It's a metaphor for what? For us, right? What else? What else does this make you think of? What are words or phrases that come to mind? Trying things if you're scared, that's excellent. Others? Trust, really, really important. What else? What else do we see happening here in this process? Community. Is there another word maybe for community or doing things all together? Teamwork, absolutely. What else? Volunteering, yes. The importance of every single person. Everyone has a role to play. Yes? Responsibility, excellent, because if you don't do your part, then all the other parts might fall apart, right? So we all owe it to one another. Yes?
It's a project that's ongoing and you have to keep working on it. You can't just let it deteriorate, but it's a work in progress.
Absolutely. This is a work in progress. You can't just say, well, we've done it and it's over now, right? There is no end point. You just have to keep doing the work over and over again. And that also it touches on things like cultural preservation, because this process has been passed down generation after generation, right? There's one more thing that I wanted to mention here that I think is really important. And it's the idea of achieving what seems to be impossible, right? I put myself in the shoes of that very first person who came to that gorge and thought, I want to get onto the other side. How am I going to do that? And they look around and all they see is this pampas grass. And they think, that might be tough, but I think I can figure out a way. It's achieving the impossible, and it's basically, well, not basically, but it really feels like a miracle in many ways, you know? And who is that first person who dared to take that step? That first step. Because no one had ever done it before, so you couldn't look in the past and say, well, people have been walking on this bridge for years. So you have to have that really important trust. Trust in the community. Now, we in this congregation, we might not be building a literal bridge across a raging river, although sometimes it does feel like that. But we are building something. With every volunteer hour served, every pledge given, every flower planted on our property, every social justice action taken, we are building a way forward into an uncertain future that is waiting for us, ready or not. I want to make my way into that future with each one of you by my side. And I want the way to feel sure, and strong and safe, a way that I know has been built well, with everyone doing their part with love as best they can. Let us venture across our own grass bridge, built with care, in the spirit of justice, equity, interdependence, pluralism, transformation, generosity, and love. May it be so. Now, before Dusty and I head out with the kids to begin a new year in the Spiritual Growth and Development Program, I want to quickly recognize all of the volunteers, past, present, and future, that open their hearts to the sacred privilege and responsibility of journeying alongside our children and youth. We offer our gratitude to those that give of their time and talents to encourage and support, to challenge and guide, and most especially to welcome and embrace our children and youth just as they are. At this time, I'd like to offer a blessing to all of you that helped to make our SGD program a success, and that is everybody in this space and everybody at home watching. I ask that when I gesture in your direction like this, you respond by saying, "We journey together." It is important for our children, youth, and adults to know that they are held with tenderness and care, and to know that they are safe and loved as their whole selves. We journey together. It is important for our children, youth, and adults to believe in their gifts, to live with compassion, integrity, service, and joy, and to know that they can make a difference. We journey together. It is important for our children, youth, and adults to trust in their worthiness, to respect the worthiness of others, and to carry our values into the wider world. We journey together. And now, for the first time this congregational year, we have reached the time in our service when we sing our children to their programs. I invite all of our elementary kids and volunteers to join Dusty and me as we walk to Foz for our first chapel of the year.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere, everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
This morning, we are proud to share our collection with Foundations Preschool, a local nonprofit offering high-quality, affordable childcare and other programs to low-income families. Here to tell us more about their mission is Foundations Preschool Development Director, Carrie Osmus. And please welcome her warmly into our pulpit.
Thank you for having me. I'm here to share more about our program at Foundations. All of us want children to succeed. We want every child and family to move forward together. Yet the challenges facing our most vulnerable children can feel overwhelming. How do we ensure true equity? How do we make sure children from all backgrounds begin life on equal footing? These are the questions we face every day at Foundations Preschool. For more than 90 years, Foundation has been a trusted source of early education and care, working to empower underserved and historically marginalized communities. 85% of the families we serve are low income, and on average, they pay just 20% of the average cost of childcare in the county. Many face additional challenges: developmental delays, food insecurity, and even housing instability. To meet these needs, we provide early intervention, comprehensive support, sliding scale tuition, and strong parent-teacher partnerships that foster long-term stability for our families. We are proud to be recognized by both national and state agencies for our high-quality programming that helps close educational gaps before they begin. This commitment delivers real results, with 71% of our pre-K students achieving kindergarten readiness, surpassing even the national average. Looking ahead, we are committed to expanding our family services so that every parent feels connected and supported in their child's journey. This work is essentially crucial in today's climate, where many of our families are experiencing uncertainty and stress. We know that the children thrive when their families are strong, stable, and have their basic needs met. By offering additional resources and opportunities, we can strengthen and uplift entire families. It is the support of our community that makes this essential work possible and has kept us going for 90 years. With your partnership, we strengthen services for current families, sustain our affordable sliding scale tuition model, and ensure that every child in Washtenaw County has the opportunity to grow, learn, and succeed, regardless of socioeconomic status. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Once a month, when we share our collection, as we are doing this morning, we lift the spiritual practice of giving beyond our own doors. To collect donations for others is a community-building act of generosity. Along with Foundations Preschool, we believe in the promise of all children, and this morning, we have the opportunity to support that promise with our gifts. There are several ways to give. You may text UUAA to 73256 or visit uuaa.org/giving and select Share the Collection for the fund. Or you may fall back on the tried and the true and drop your cash or check donations in the baskets as the ushers pass them by. Thank you for your gifts to Foundations Preschool. I invite the ushers to please come forward, as this morning's offering will now be given in love and received with gratitude. Allison, thank you. As the ushers bring the collection forward, I invite you to rise in body or in spirit as you are comfortably able. And please join me as together we say, "To the work of this congregation, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives and these our offerings. Thank you. Please be seated.
How do we stay awake to the needs of our time? How do we stay awake and alive in the midst of the possibilities that are needed in response? Possibilities that may seem impossible to achieve. I invite you to hold that question with me as you turn to your gray hymnals, hymn number 298. Remaining seated, we're going to sing together verses 1 through 3.
Wake now, my senses, and hear the earth call. Join with the power of being in all. Keep with the web of creation your vow. Giving, receiving, as love shows us how. Wake now, my reason, reach out to the new. Join with each pilgrim who quests for the true. Honor the beauty and wisdom of time. Suffer thy limit and praise the sublime. Wake now, compassion, give heed to the cry. Voices of suffering fill the wide sky. Take as your neighbor both stranger and friend, praying and striving their hardship to end.
Wake now, compassion, give heed to the cry. Voices of suffering fill the wide sky. Take as your neighbor both stranger and friend, praying and striving their hardship to end. What does it mean to work toward ending the suffering and hardship of others? How might our dreams, our spiritual aspirations be a part of that? These are some questions I held with me over the summer. And this past summer, I got to go to a conference. Now, it sounds very exciting. It was a conference in Las Vegas. But mind you, it's the worst time of year to go to Las Vegas, early August, when the temperatures are over 100 degrees outside, so there's no lounging around a pool. I really, really dislike gambling, and I don't drink or do drugs, so all the typical Vegas diversions were off the table. So you know I really had to be there for this conference. And I made it sound a little bit like it's a work conference, but it wasn't. It was a convention, more like that, and one with Starfleet uniforms and people wearing alien costumes. It was my first ever Star Trek convention in Las Vegas. It's the largest Star Trek convention on planet Earth, and it happens once a year in the heat of the desert in August in Vegas. And indeed, as one would expect, there were alien costumes and people in uniforms and lots of famous actors and actresses. There are multiple pictures of me looking ridiculously giddy, meeting famous people, including Gregory Peck's grandson, Ethan Peck, who currently plays the role of Spock in the latest series. I look ridiculous. He's so handsome. He is. And so I thought I was going to Vegas to be a fanboy and, meet famous people and do all this Star Trek stuff, listen to some talks. What I didn't expect was that this was going to be an incredibly meaningful and beautiful spiritual experience. I was totally caught off guard. That was not what I thought I had signed up for at all. And, it really makes sense on a certain level. If you're going to take, an entire week out of your life to go to the desert at its most inhospitable time, at a certain amount of personal time and expense, you're more likely than not all in on Gene Roddenberry's vision of the future, which, for the 1960s, when he was coming up with it, and even still today, was quite radical. So in this vision of the future, Gene Roddenberry depicted a version of humanity that had figured out all its issues. Truly, that's not a small assumption there. But this version of a human future has no poverty, no homelessness. It's post-capitalism and post-money. There's no social class hierarchy other than the rank you have on the ship. But that's for order. There's a united Earth, it's literally called that, united Earth, that is post-war, post-scarcity, post-consumerism, post-narrow national interest, and in service to greater human interests and greater human aspirations. Roddenberry's vision of what people could do and be in the future was humanity at its very, very best. And so if you're so devoted to Star Trek that you're going to give up a week of your life, your vacation time, whatever, to go do this, you are all in on that vision. And that was amazing because I went to this convention all by myself. I didn't go with friends. And so everybody I met was a complete stranger to me. I knew nothing about them. They knew nothing about me. And over again, I found that underneath whatever initial conversation and getting acquainted talk there might be, we were each hopelessly idealistic people. It was so beautiful. And in that hopeless idealism, that total buying into Gene Roddenberry's values and vision, there was an active practicing of living into those values in this little bit of gathered community that was there. It was actually not little, it was thousands of people. But this living into, this active attempt to try and live into those values and that ethos as best as we could, given the limitations of American society and the context of our gathering. It was so unexpected to me, and it was so beautiful. It got me thinking deeply about the power of dreams and visions and aspirations. I mean, here, Gene Roddenberry completely made up this dream 60 plus years ago. And since its inception, that vision, that dream has touched the lives of millions and millions of people around the world. Something completely fictional, and yet immensely powerful, immensely impactful, guiding that gathered community of thousands of individuals to try and be together and live together in a certain way. Dreams have power. Now that's a significant thing to say, that dreams have power, because while that is true, at the same time, we in our society are immensely pragmatic, and so we can also dismiss dreams as being, they're just fanciful, they're impractical, it's pie in the sky thinking. So why bother? We've got these harsh day-to-day realities that's the real stuff that we have to deal with. And yet, dreaming serves many important functions. I want to share maybe just two of these with you. There's no doubt more than two. One of which came to me by virtue of this amazing and beautiful little book. It's by Dr. Ruha Benjamin. It's called Imagination, a Manifesto. This is such a delightful and easy-to-read book. And if you're signed up with me for any of the adult education offerings I'm teaching this year, this is the first book that we're taking a look at together. Dr. Benjamin's thesis is quite simple. The social, political, economic structures that we are embedded in, that we are a part of, maintain their grip on us by silently convincing us that what we have as humanity is the best that's possible. It's the best we can do. Yeah, sure, maybe you can tinker around at the edges and improve something a little bit here, improve something a little bit there. But, it's really hard to change what we have, and it's okay, even though it's got incredibly ugly faults. But, given that it's the best we can do, just accept it. Learn to live with it, tinker at the edges, improve what you can, and move on. Don't worry about it more than that. Dr. Benjamin notes that this silent convincing, which a lot of us buy into simply to get through day-to-day life in the structures that we're embedded in, this becoming silently convinced that this is the best that we can do, this is how repression, this is how inequality, gross inequality, and terrible injustice thrive. When our imaginations are shut down, the worst aspects of what we human beings have created get to live on indefinitely into the future. From this perspective, Dr. Benjamin notes that freeing up our capacity to imagine boldly, wildly, creatively is not just a part of what the time we are in needs. It's also a revolutionary act. Because in the midst of essentially all the systems around us telling you can't change any of this, this is the best you got, work with it, make do, accept it, refusing to accept that that's the best humanity can do is revolutionary. It's an act of liberating one's mind in the midst of systems that want us to not think beyond what we already are stuck with. Side by side with Dr. Benjamin's book, I came across in recent months this book by Simon Squibb. This is just published this year, What's Your Dream? And in this, Simon Squibb invites us to start at the end. This is another important function of dreams. Start at the end. Imagine the thing that seems completely impossible, impractical, undoable. But start there. Let's imagine that. And having imagined that, then dreams allow us to start from a different place. Rather than from that place of acceptance, of, I guess this is the best we can do, we're stuck, you start with a different set of wonderings. Well, if that's the thing that is actually desirable, well, what's the next little step? what's possible. The door of possibility is suddenly swung open. Rather than accepting what we have as the best that humanity is capable of, suddenly the door's open and we ask, well, what would it take just to take a little tiny step in that direction towards the impossible thing? What's one step? What's a little step? The first step. That opening up of possibility in service to something that seems impossible creates fuel. It creates necessary energy that is motivation. And that motivation can really amp up. It can spiral when we discover that others around us are similarly holding that kind of possibility. Imagine me, just one person, not knowing a single person, showing up in Las Vegas for this convention and discovering thousands of other people are committed to this vision of humanity that is bold and incredibly idealistic. There's power in that. There's energy in that. There's motivation in that. When we discover that we're not alone, we realize that maybe it's worth trying. I don't know if we'll get there, but maybe it's worth trying. Dreams allow us to leverage motivation into action. And as motivation is leveraged into action, the thing that seems far-fetched has a chance. And isn't that what we ultimately call hope? Acting on our highest aspirations to build a future that is better than what we have today. As these wonderings were rambling around in my brain, I came across this week in particular, several times from several different directions, the writings and thinking and philosophy of Václav Havel, the dreamer, a dreamer in his own right, a creative artist, a poet, a politician, someone who took that art of dreaming and imagining and turned it into political action, believing that creativity could offer us the opportunity to reclaim the truth that we human beings are the architects of our reality. And if we are the architects of our reality, we have the power, we have the agency, we have a chance to change that architecture. Now, thinking in the time of the former Soviet Union, and my gosh, what strength and boldness that took. When every aspect, every social institution, every aspect of civil society was dominated by a regime that was repressive and intent on ensuring it remained in power. Total control of state media, newspapers, radio, television, political life, social life, the fear that the instruments of government were spying on you and eavesdropping on you, that you could be locked up at any point in time. In the middle of that level of repression, Havel and other thinkers were doing what he called, these were his exact words, anchoring ourselves beyond the horizon. They anchored themselves beyond what they could even see towards the things that seemed completely impossible. Why? Because it undergirded, it was the foundation of being able to work for something because it is good and it is right, not because you're going to achieve it. You might not in your lifetime achieve it, and that didn't matter because that wasn't the point. The point was that we know when something is good and right and better. And we can root ourselves, we can anchor ourselves in that. We can find others who feel similarly and try our best to move in that particular direction. Now, a Czech sibling of President Havel's also a Vaclav. This is Vaclav Benda, a philosopher and contemporary of President Havel's. Benda wrote about a concept called parallel polis. Now, parallel meaning, in parallel with. So you've got all these repressive institutions of power and authority clamping down on and ensuring that there wasn't going to be freedom of thought or expression. In parallel with that was the opportunity to create polis, political entities, political social entities, that were small, grassroots, not even connected necessarily or talking to one another. Parallel polis was rooted in lots of little clusters of scattered people working together in parallel towards what they understood unambiguously was a greater good, despite all the institutions of government and power being arrayed against them. This is what President Havel called the power of the powerless. The ability, through that looking beyond the horizon towards a dream, an aspiration, a vision, to find others with similar dreams and aspirations. And in that, you're not actually powerless. Because you don't wait for some distant future when freedom is going to miraculously show up. You begin right now, right here and now, in all those little clustered, disconnected groupings of people. You begin to practice living into that greater good here and now. And in fact, the parallel polis, these parallel micro-societies, these were the front lines of civil disobedience and resistance in the former Czechoslovakia. They are, in fact, today, in our nation, the front lines of disobedience and resistance. Parallel political, social entities, micro-societies, micro-communities of people seeking to bring alive what they know is better, despite what the legitimized order is doing and saying. And in that sense, what a beautiful thing to just show up in Las Vegas and discover there a parallel polis, a group of people, a micro-society dedicated to Gene Roddenberry's values and vision. And aren't we here at UUAA, we ourselves are a parallel polis, a micro-society of people dedicated to human equality, human inclusion, human dignity, human flourishing, in ways that we don't necessarily see mirrored in the broader societal structures of which we are a part. These micro-communities, micro-societies are the front lines of freedom. It's where we experiment on what it's like to live into that dream, into that vision, to the best of our ability today. It's where we refine and hone and practice the structures, the relationships, the ways of knowing and being that we know would be better. It's how we begin to take little baby steps towards living in to something that is different and bolder. My friends, this kind of dreaming has power. It has the power to call to us precisely because every fiber of our being can feel the goodness of this kind of dreaming. Our soul, our essence, our very physical body resonates with positivity when we can latch onto and feel and allow ourselves to be part of this kind of dreaming. There's no confusion, there's no fear, there's no ambiguity or uncertainty, because we know when this kind of dreaming resonates so deeply with us, we know that it is good and it is right. It's the power of knowing that we don't need to be murdering one another simply because we think differently. We know every fiber of our being, our very body knows that we can navigate difference without hatred, without violence, without putting other people down. Can you feel the power of that? Can you feel how it resonates with you, the inner yes? It's the power of knowing that diversity can not only be a strength, but that it can be celebrated, that it need not be manipulated and used as a wedge to divide us from one another, to make us hate one another, distrust one another, dislike one another. Can you feel the power of knowing that we can celebrate one another, that we can learn from one another? Can you feel how your body vibrates to the yes of that? Can you feel the power of knowing that already today this is not a distant dream on some horizon that we can't see, that already today the basic need of every human being on planet Earth could be met if we had the will to do so. Not a single human being needs suffer because their basic needs are going unmet. Can you feel your soul saying yes to that, knowing the truth of that, knowing that that's possible, and not just that it's possible, but that it's good, it's what should be. Not the ways in which we're pitted against one another, not this endless game of scarcity, and that, my gosh, if I give up a little so that somebody else can have more, what if I'm insecure? What if I'm not going to be okay? That endless scarcity game that keeps us caught up in self-concern and selfishness. We know we don't need to play that game. Every fiber of our body, our soul, our essence knows that we don't need to play that game. That inherently we could be and already are okay. Can you feel the power of knowing that you're in community, a micro-society with others whose dreams and aspirations, hopes for humanity are just like yours? If you can feel the power of that, could you give me an amen? And I invite you in that amen to get up on your feet, rise in body or spirit, and let's pour that energy and commitment, those deeper yeses that you know and feel in your body with every fiber of your being. Pour that energy and commitment into Wake Now My Senses. We're going to return to hymn 298 and sing verses 3 through 5.
Wake now, my passion, give heed to the cry. Voices of suffering fill the wide sky. Take as your neighbor, both stranger and friend, praying and striving their hardship to end. Wake now, my conscience, with justice thy guide. Join with all people who
Don't let the despair of this time pull you down. I know it's real. I feel it too. But if we give in to it, it crushes our imaginations, it crushes our creative ability to build different and build better. It destroys the dreams that we should be holding on the horizon, the ones that resonate with our souls and our bodies and our beings. Don't give in to that despair. Trust instead in your deeper knowing that you are part of a society, part of a community that is dedicated to all that is good, all that is true, all that we dream about individually and collectively. Hold those dreams as precious. Don't let them go. They matter. Strive to live into them as best as you can in the days ahead, one step at a time. Go in love, go in peace, until we are together again. Amen.